Okay, we're going to do Parshas Mishpatim, letter Yud Beis, which is page Tuf Shin Mem Aleph. If you don't have a Zera Shimshon, Bivakasha. Tuf Shin Mem Aleph. It's the last one in Parshas Mishpatim. Tonight's concept is Kabbalistic and spiritual by nature. It talks about fulfilling one's tikkun and fulfilling other people's tikkun. Not just yours, but others, and anything that the Eibishter might send by your way. You never know what it is and whose lives you're fixing up. Tonight, Be'ez Hashem, we'll see. Every person is given a tafkid. And tonight's shir is sponsored by Sheftel Yekosiel ben Hillel Le'ilu Nishmas Sheftel Yekosiel ben Hilachayim Hillel. His yahrzeit was today, the 22nd of Shvat. His neshama should have an aliyah, and all the words of Torah that we learn shall be for him a zechus, la'ateres l'roishoy, as a crown on his head. Amen. The Zera Shimshon begins, Yihi no pi shnayim beruchacha. The discussion that the Zera Shimshon begins with is Eliyahu is being approached by his Talmud Muvak Elisha. Each of them were prophets. Eliyahu Hanavi, who is well known, Eliyahu Hanavi, the person who never passed away with Misa the way we know it. Instead, he went up with a fiery chariot up to Shamayim. Elisha, who had the koyach to do Tchias HaMesim, as we read in our Haftarahs, where that Ben Hashunamis that passed away put him on his bed and he brought him back to life. Before Eliyahu passed away, before he moved on, we'll call it, his Talmud Elisha asked him for a double portion. He asked him, Pi ruchacha, whatever you got, Rebbe, I'd like to have as much and more. What a request. To which Eliyahu said, Tafasta maruba. You know what it means, Tafasta maruba? You're asking a lot. You're asking a lot. Hikisha lishoil. Eliyahu, as we'll see, was not happy with Elisha's request, and he didn't respond positively, but rather he said, if you see how I move on to the next world, if you see how I am taken from this world, then if you're able to see it, it's a siman that you will get what you want. Look at the lashon. Im tira oisi loikeach mi itcha yehi lecha kain. If you see me taken away from you, your request shall be fulfilled. V'im ein lo yeh lecha. It comes from Malachim, page Shin Tav Shin Mem Aleph. That's the story that he's quoting. Hapsukim o Eloheim temuim. The Eich Elisha Heyis Panav Lishol Merabbi Kach. How could he indeed ask for his Rebbe twice what the Rebbe had? Uma inyan le'im yira oisi loikeach. And what was this cryptic answer? As we said in our little introduction, if you're just joining us, the tonight's sugya is all about tikkun. Our person is put into this world to take care of things. There's a certain amount, a job that a person has in this world. Very often it's your job, and sometimes you can finish off the jobs of others. When someone doesn't finish off his or her job, it's possible, as we'll soon see, even Eliyahu Hanavi didn't finish his job. So therefore it's shaykh that someone, which by the way, obviously when a child, bra karadavua, a child who follows in the footsteps of his parents, A child who follows in the footsteps is fixing or being mashlim the avodah that the other person did, or the person has not yet finished. V'yadua. So let's talk about the job of Eliyahu. So Olam, where are we good? We're good? What would you like to do? Matarotze. Whatever you want. Eli, you're the boss. Chaim, you want to sit over here maybe? Come over here. Not
Good. Fine. We're good?
Yeah?
Now it's fine.
Okay, you're just blocking people. In the way, there are people behind you that can't see. Okay. Fine. V'yadua ma de'isa b'zoyer. In Zoyer HaKodesh shteitu mekubalim shenishmas noda v'aviyu bo lihitakein bepinchas she'oso oisai maisa shehoreg zimri. Pinchas, as the Zoyer HaKodesh writes in the beginning of Parshas Pinchas was born a Levi and did not have the schus of being a Kayin. Let's explain. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had originally wanted all of the Bechars, the firstborns, to be the people working in the Beis HaMikdash. The Bechars of every family would be able to represent. The Bechar has a certain Kedusha. The Bechar would be the one to work in the Beis HaMikdash. Shevet Levi was obviously a holy nation, a holy chelik of Klal Yisrael. Shevet Levi was always Kadosh. They were never subject to the suffering of Mitzrayim. The Rambam writes, even though Klal Yisrael throughout in Mitzrayim had lost the Amunah of Avram Avinu, Shevet Levi was always Kadosh v'Tahar. But Shevet Levi was not divided into two groups. It was one Shevet. Until the Eibishter said, Aharon and his four children, the five of them, shall get a new status. The status of Aharon and Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, Yisamar was, going forward, they were no longer going to be Leviim, they would now become Kohanim. Any of the children that Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, Yisamar, Nadav, Avihu didn't have any children, but Elazar, Yisamar had, those children were Leviim, like dad, like their family. And now that Aaron and his four Bunim became Kohanim, the older children were still Leviim, because they couldn't become, only 5 people became Kohanim. Only those 5. Which meant Elazar v'Yisamar, now that they would have more kinderlach, the new kinderlach would become Kohen, would be born to a Kohen and be a Kohen. And their older children would stay Levites, would stay Leviim. No different than Aaron and Moshe. Moshe and Aaron were brothers. Aaron Gevar and Kohen, and Moshe Geblib and Levi. Correct? So too, Elazar's older children, of which Pinchas, Rabbi Sai, Pinchas was one of Elazar's older children. Oy bazoi, Pinchas was not given kahuna. But you know what happened? When Nadav and Avihu brought an Eish Zar, and they died, 50% of the kahuna was lost. Aharon's 2 kids. He was lucky, by the way, because it says in Rashi that the Eibishter was going to wipe him out and all 4 kids. Moshe Rabbeinu's tefillas helped Aharon, that his gezerah was chetzi, as I state in Rashi. Instead of 4, he lost 2. Nadav and Avihu. For the Egel, Ariri, he would have lost all 4.
Why would they be punished?
That's part of his punishment. He's taking care of Klal Yisrael, right? Klal Yisrael is the Eibishter's kinderlach, and you were Posheya, right? Why did Yehuda lose 2 kids? Because what he did to Yosef, right? Also, his kinderlach, correct? They did their own sins, but the schus of Yehuda couldn't protect them. Nadav and Avihu did their sins. The schus of Aaron couldn't protect them. Aaron himself had his own cheshbon of how the Eibishter was disappointed that Aaron didn't do his job of watching Klal Yisrael. So what else should he have done? It's a whole separate story. But Tachlis, Aaron's 4 kids could have passed away. Instead, the Eibishter saved 2. Now, there are 2 children, Rabbi Isai, Nadav and Avihu. There's all that kahuna. What happens to that? Shteiten Zera HaKadosh. After Pinchas killed Zimri, after Pinchas went in and killed them, then Shevet Shimon came after Pinchas to kill him. They wanted to avenge the death of their leader. State in Chazal, the Zera HaKadosh, that Pinchas is Parcha Nishmasai, and the Eibishter gave him back the neshamas of Nadav and Avihu. As I state in Zohar, you're going to read it right now. And that's why every single time Pinchas is mentioned in the Chumash, he's Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aharon. Why does it say 2 bens? Asked the Zohar. Because the 2 bens, Nadav and Avihu, those 2 bens that were nifter, came back to Pinchas, and that's why he became a kohen, because he was able now to take over the job of Nadav and Avihu, the potential that down there, it was their first day of work. It was their first day as a kohen. They were gone on day 1. It was their first day, but that was it. Geendigt. So what's with this kahuna? Pinchas took it over. Not only did Pinchas take it over, but Pinchas is Izu Eliyahu. So he had a double role. And he had Nadav and Avihu, and he was Pinchas and Eliyahu. So his job was to be mashlim whatever kahuna was not fulfilled through Nadav and Avihu. This is Nishma Chidash, and this you need Ruach HaKodesh, and this it says in the Zohar. The Zera Shimshon is going to quote it right now. V'yadu b'mekubalim shenishmas Nadav Avihu bo lehitakein b'Pinchas. They came to be besukin through Pinchas, when he went and killed Zimri. Sham be'oisai maise hisker tamid HaKosav, Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aharon HaKoyin. Meaning, Keloimar, she Pinchas ben Elazar is Nishnor Gevein ben Elazar. He wasn't just ben Elazar. Chazar Lias ben Aharon HaKoyin. He's ben Elazar and he's ben Aharon. And it Dafka says ben twice for the 2 children that passed away. Al Yedei Nishmas Nadav v'Avihu Shehu Bonav Shel Aharon. And that's how he's a kohen, because he's taking over the roles of kahuna of Nadav and Avihu. Umeshum hachi herviach oz hakahuna lefi shenase ben Aharon. That's how he became a kohen, even though he wasn't. The other siblings that had been born earlier, whoever they were, they stayed Leviim. The new ones that were born to Elazar after he became a kohen were naturally kohen because their tati had become a kohen, so they became kohen. Pinchas was a self-made kohen. His kahuna came at us farmukt. He was able to, how do you say farmukt in English? He earned it, right? He earned it. He earned it on his own. Now, one of their averis was the Eish Zara, says the Zera Shimshon, it isn't coincidental that through the fire that came down, they were sitting around. Moshe, Aaron, Nadav, Avihu. It had been, the Olam knows the story, right? The Olam, I should say it? Okay. Klal Yisrael had sinned and made a cheta egel. The Eibishter said, I'm finished with them. Geendigt. Herif mimeni, we're done. Moshe Rabbeinu at Ois Gepoilt, 40 days, 40 nights. The Jews are going to have a second chance. Kachava, and after 40 days and 40 nights, he came down Erev Rosh Chodesh Elul. The Eibishter said, fine. You're getting a second set of luchas. Fair enough. When did the second set of luchas come down? On Yom Kippur. What makes Yom Kippur Yom Kippur? It was the day that the Jewish people, after they had sinned, after they had made the Cheta Ego, and the luchas had already been broken, were now given a second set of tablets. So no matter how bad you sin, you always get a second chance. The first Yom Kippur happened in the desert when the Luchas Shniyos came down, and forever that day becomes the Yom Kippur of Klal. So you can always get a second chance. Then 2 days later, the Rabbi Shalom said, the next day, he said, I want you to build me a Mishkan v'shachanti b'seichem. We're back in good grace. We're back where we're supposed to be. Let's go. Let's make a Mishkan. It took them 6 weeks. They worked like a frenzy. Thousands of people on Chav Hey Kislev. They went to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, here it is. Klal Yisrael were eager to have that Mishkan built. Eibishter said, not now. I have a cheshbon. I want it to be built. I want you to put it together in Nisan. Let's wait. Okay? Don't worry about it. That day, the energy that Klal Yisrael had by building a Mishkan and it ready to go on Chav Hey Kislev, I'll pay back that date. That became Hanukkah thousands of years later, when the Chashmonai Yibon of those Kayhanim released the energy that Klal Yisrael had embedded then. Good. Chav Hey Adar. Let's fast forward. It is 7 days before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Shmoines Yemei Meluim. Moshe Rabbeinu builds the Mishkan. Stellt avek a ganze Mishkan, and the Shechina is coming to rest. Moshe Rabbeinu does all the avoida, the ganze avoida. Klal Yisrael, 600,000 people are standing around waiting, Rabbi Isai, waiting for the fire to come down to heaven. You know what happens? Nothing. No fire comes down. That's like waiting to be given the final seal of approval. What a disappointment. Moshe Rabbeinu dismantled the Mishkan, built it the next day. What happened? Nothing. The next day, nothing. The next day, for 7 days, nothing happened. Every single day, aufgestellt, aruggebrengt. Aufgestellt, gur nicht. Vayhi bayoyim hashmini. It's the 8th day. Who's going to work today? Aaron HaKoyin. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Krav al Mizbeach. Go ahead and make the carbon. Do your job. You know what Aaron HaKoyin said to him? Not me. I made the ego. You did nothing. You did everything right. You couldn't bring the fire down. I'm not bringing the fire. I'm not doing this. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Krav al Mizbech, lekach natzart, you got to do it. Reluctantly, Aaron HaKoyin did it. He did all the avodah. He did all the shechting. He did everything. All of Klal Yisrael was waiting. It was Rosh Chodesh Nisan already. Im ein achshav ein masai. You know what happened, Rabbi Isai? Shum davar. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing happened. At that time, Nadav and Avihu took an Eish Zor, Asher Leitziva Lekim, and they brought a fire. And for that, they were killed on the spot. According to the Gemara Sanhedrin we just learned, a fire came out, Hashem, like a beam, laser fire, split up into two, went into their nostrils and burnt their insides.
They actually got the fire to come down.
They got the fire, unfortunately. They were choyte be'esh. Eliyahu Hanavi. Now, the Gilgul of Nadav and Avihu, it brings an Eish down the right way. The right way. He waited for them. He brought down, says the Zera Shimshon, this is no coincidence. The Kilkul of Nadav and Avihu an Eish Zor was mitukan, was fixed up through this Eish that made a Kiddush Hashem keneged all of the people who were bowing down to the Baal. So Eliyahu Hanavi, empowered with the neshama of Nadav and Avihu, who were choite be'eish zor, was now mitukan through this eish sheyared min hashamayim. That's Mamash's words. And therefore, lefi shekrivu eish zora lefnei Hashem, because of the eish zora, therefore mishum hachi Eliyahu bekara karmel kiddush Hashem be'eish kenoida. Derech agav. I think here is the time to insert the personal message. A mensch has to know, and this is the cloud, this is the takeaway for tonight. Things happen to us in situations that we have no idea. How did I get into this situation? How did this happen? Sometimes we find ourselves like out of left field. Without wissen that there's nothing that doesn't happen in our life, that there isn't a cheshbon why the Eibishter wants this to happen to us. When it comes to a Jew, there is nothing random. Everything is mamish bepirte pratim. Where you have to be, when you have to be, what nisayon you have, who you have to deal with. Every single thing is tailor-made for your neshama. Who knows what cheshbon that is, and from welche neshamas it's coming from? There's no question. Nobody believes that the world started with him, and it's not going to finish with him. There's been around for a long time, and there's many, many cheshbonis that needs to be taken care of. And we, as Yidden and the Eibishter's Kinderlach, we have our job to do our tikkun. You want to know what your tikkun is? I'll tell you what it is. Watch what happens in your life. That's your tikkun. As it plays out, you'll see, because the Eibishter is going to give you the opportunity to do all the things you need to do. Was willst du fragen?
Gaon says, if you know what tikkun is, find out which thing is the hardest thing to do.
Find out which one?
It's the hardest thing to do. That's what you're here for.
That's the hardest one. Yeah. The Vilna Gaon. Once upon a time, when there were Nevi'im, that was what Navi could tell you. You could go to the Navi and he could tell you this and this and this. It could tell you exactly. When we had Nevi'im, we knew exactly what we had to do. Now, you never know which, but usually, the hardest job you have, whether it's a business partner that messes you over, whether it's cholil, if it's in a family, whether it's this, and now you have an achrayus to act the way the Torah Kedosha says. And so often we forget whatever the Torah says because we're too caught up in the moment. And he did this or she did that and I have to do this. For everything, there is an answer in the Torah. You just have to find it. And then you're doing the thing that the Eibishter wants you to do. So this is a great example. We're taking a page out of history where Nadav and Avihu, years earlier, had messed up with an Eish Zor, as I state in the Torah. It cost them their life. And therefore, Pinchas, who Pinchas took over the neshamas, and Mamela Eliyahu took over the neshamas, Mamela Eliyahu has the opportunity to make that part of the tikkun. Kanireh, there was more to do. As we're going to go now weiter in the Zera Shimshon, and Elisha wanted to get these neshamas. He wanted to take over the job as a Talmud from his Rebbe. He wanted to take over this job. Uma'ata Elisha hayaroitza she'elu ha-neshamas yigmur tikunem boy be'atzmoi kol ma'ashalai nigmur be'Eliyahu. I guess Elisha must have known. Again, you have to be with your head above the rim. You have to, how do they know what's going on in Shamayim to know that Eliyahu didn't finish his job? Aber so steht, das weiß ich nicht. I don't know how, was sagst du? Probably the Nuvi came and he knew. Val zeh shol yihi no pi shnayim. Can I please have no Nadav Avihu? He's going to say that later. Yihi no. No is a remes for Nadav and Avihu. Right? I want no. I want the Pi Shnayim. You're my Rebbe. I'm your Talmud. The Gemara says that just like there's a father to a son, Vishinantam levanecha elu hatalmidim. Talmidim are the extension of their Rebbe. They're like the Kara Davua. So you're my Rebbe. You were doing this job. If there's more to be done, I would like to have the schus. That's what Elisha flaked Eliyahu Hanavi. I want to finish the job. Koloimar. This is what he says. No. Rosh Tevis. No. Nadav Avihu. V'Eliyahu hishiv loy. Hikshiso l'shoyl. Koloimar. Ech sakadai techlias ato yosef choshev imeni shigbecho mashalog me'etzli. You really think you're going to do what I didn't do? He didn't say it in a bad way, like in a gaivadik way, chas v'shalom. He meant to say that, if I'm Eliyahu Hanavi, and as we're going to see, Eliyahu malach habris. Eliyahu is on the madreg of a malach. So if me, as Eliyahu, as the malach, didn't finish it, so you're going to finish it off? You're not a malach, Elisha. V'hainu, diyesh machloikis, im atzadikim gedolim min hamalachim, or im malachim gedolim min atzadikim. Who's bigger? Angels? Eliyahu was malach habris. So if as a malach he didn't finish it off, how's Elisha, who's not a malach but a tzaddik? Ubezet toli machloikis im haaretz niver tchila v'achikach shamayim down at tzadikim gedolim shamayim niver tchila v'anu malachim. There's a machloikis in the Gemara. What was created first? V'hagam sh'rabbeseinu zal omer gedolim tzadikim yosem malachi asharis. The psak is tzadikim are bigger. Tzadikim are bigger than malachim. Rabbi said we say this over all the time. V'amech kulam tzadikim. Who's going to olam haba? Klal Yisrael. What about angels? No. Angels don't go to olam haba. Angels are they're much bigger than us, but you need to struggle with a guf.
They don't have bechira.
They don't have bechira. You need to, behemoths, pets don't go, and angels don't go. Okay? Only people who struggle, who have a neshama, mitaguf, those are the only ones that go. So we paskin gedolim tzadikim yosem lachesharis. Im kol zeh mishpat ksuvim niram behepach. From Parshas Pshat on the pasuk, it seems that the malachim are bigger. For example, Shar Yeshua Shahaya Navi Kisharoi Malach Nafal Bepanav. Other cases, v'rabim keila, v'oid amru shenadav avihu hitzitzu b'shchina. They looked at the shchina k'dechsiv like it says v'yechzor lekim mishum hachi meisu. V'kosha eich efshe shemala libam dover kazeh. How could they look? Kilo irani odom v'chai. What were they thinking? V'yesh loim shahayil shebeshas matan Torah ha'yisrael k'malachim. When Klal Yisrael got the Torah, they were on the level of Malachim, like it says, V'mi gila rozel abonai. They said Nasa v'nishma, this week's Parsha. And Dadayin loichotu be'egel. They had not yet sinned in the egel. Mishum hocher soivim bedaitim shaloi neser habota shchina ela ba'odam shesoifei lamos. Ki lo yorani odam v'chai was only said, thought nodam v'aviyu, for a person who's ultimately going to die. Odam on a lower level. But now that Klal Yisrael had graduated to the level of Tchias HaMesim, let's just remind ourselves. When Klal Yisrael was standing at Har Sinai and the Eibishter said, Anoichi v'lo yelecha, the Gemara brings down, Medrashim say, what happened? Parcha nishmasam. They were blown away, literally. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu was moirid tal shatchia and brought back their neshama. So the separation between the guf and the neshama that Adam Harishon had caused for all of humanity, after Adam ate, that the Teibishter said that they experienced death. They had it and they were revived. So they were good to go. Had Klal Yisrael held on to the Nisayan and not sinned with the Egel, they would have fused together. That's why we say, and you just said it over there, Ani Amarti Yisrael Yom Shlishi, Elohim Atem Ubnei Elyon Kuchem. I thought you were already fused together. Nadav and Avihu thought that they could see, and therefore by Har Sinai they were already looking. They thought that they were already vayatzitzu. That's why they said v'avol b'mi shu kemalach shein soifay lamus loy nesar. The Fisha Malachim Gedolim and Tzadikim, V'koichim Godim Shchem Lahatzes B'Shchinim, Shemhoch V'yechsu As Elikim. That's why they thought that they could look. They thought they were on such a madrega. And they made the mistake.
As long as they don't sin.
Even if they are gedolim, they're still not out of look, and even angels are not out of look. Is going now. V'hine, let's come full circle. Elisha hayadeya sheliyo hayamalach. He knew that Eliyahu was a malach. You want to know when Eliyahu became a malach? Not when he was in Eliyahu, when he was back in the stage of Pinchas. Everybody remember the story when Yehoshua sent 2 spies? We read it in the Haftarah in Parshas Shlach. He sent 2 spies. Who did he send? Kalev and Pinchas. Where did they go? To Rochav. And then the Shiva Sa'amim, the Amorim, the Canaanim, shmecked it, and they went to go find them. They smelled them, they knew that they were there. So she says, I'm going to hide you. Right? Pinchas says, you don't have to hide me. Listen to what he says. Hirgish behem melech Yerichai. Melech, I'm reading the Medrash right now that he quotes. The Shama Shabo Lachbar starts, he heard that there were 2 people coming to spy. But Ya'omer LaMelech Yerichai Hine Hanoshim Kivin Shochel Avaksha Me'os Sarachav Not Loisel Matmim. She took them to hide them. Amr La Pinchas. Listen to what Pinchas said. I'm a kohen. For Kahanim Nimshul Malachim. Shenem Gesif say Kohen Yishmu Das V'Toy Yavakshu V'Piu Ki Malach Hashem Tzvakasu. HaMalach Roitza Nira Roitza Eina Nira. You don't have to hide me. I'm the invisible man. I'm a disappearing person. You don't have to hide me. Steht da that Pinchas when he was still Pinchas was already able to disappear. And it says Taka afterwards, but it says V'lefichach, it says Vatikach Eisha Shnei Anoshim Vatitzpenoi. If you look in Yoshua, it says Vatitzpeno, single. Vatitzpenem Einoi Amar. It doesn't say he hid them. He took the 2 people, he hid one of them. Kalev needed to be hidden. Pinchas didn't need to be hidden. He was fine. So the status of this Malach, Eliyahu, Malach Habris, was already by Pinchas' stage. So the Machlokes here, and let's summarize now, the Machlokes here was, does Elisha have a chance to do a tikkun that Eliyahu didn't do? Even though Eliyahu is a Malach, and Elisha is a tzaddik, but the tzaddik can do things as a basar v'dam that Eliyahu did not do. And that's what his taina was. So what did he say to him? If you see the way I'm taken away, if you see the way my neshama goes up, then you have a shaykhis to me in Yenevelt. If you have a shaykhis to me over there, then you can take over this job. If you don't see how I move on, then you don't have no shaykhis to me. Okay? Avol im tira, the last paragraph, we're at the end already. Im tira oisi lekech me'itcha, oz muchach sha'tzadik odef me'malach, because sha'ra tzadik en yochel liris kvoide shal tzadik chaveiroi. The Gemara says in Shabbos, every person goes lebeis oilamoi. Ein tzadik nichva me beis oilamoi shal chaveiroi. You don't see what's going on by Yenim, but if you can see this malach go away, that means that you have a certain shaykhis to him, then you could take it over. Achshav shiroi b'chvoidesh hamalach, dahainu Elisha roi b'chvoidesh shel Yoshu malach, lefize yesh to'eles, there's a to'eles lo'oisen an neshamas lovay alecha, they should come to you. V'oz yelecha kain. V'chein hoya shenichnesu gam be'elisha, k'may shekosav ha'mekubalim. Indeed, these 2 neshamas, Elisha came over to them. V'chein matzinu vayorim es aderes Eliyahu asher naflo me'olav rosha teves asher naflu avihu nodov. He got them both. And Enochnami, he took it over. And Elisha, whatever Eliyahu didn't do, Elisha did. Which also means, and we're going to finish with this, that sometimes you might meet somebody in life And a chelik of the bashert is that the two of you together can fix up a mistake of the previous generation. It doesn't fall on your shoulder. It falls on the group's shoulder, on many of them. Yesh shishim riboy oisis latayra. Yisrael, yesh shishim riboy oisis latayra. As I stated, many. There are 600,000 letters in the Torah. 600,000 neshamas of Klal Yisrael that went out shishim ribu. You see this number again, and again. You have to look at those neshamas like there's a boat. Like a little rowboat. Maybe it's not so long. There's a bunch of bodies that are people on that. Each neshama is like one of those boats. When a candle, which in Kiner Hashem Nishmas Adam, when that candle is lit by another flame, each candle is a body. The same neshama, the same light of one candle can light a lot of candles. So we're all sharing similar neshamas. And that way you can have people, how much do you accomplish? Whatever the candle burns down, and as much as the candle is affected by that fire of the neshama, that's the tikkun and that's the job that we're doing in life. We're making our guf neshamadik. We're making and we're connecting our guf to our neshama. And sometimes it's not just our neshama. It's a neshama from before. It's a groise neshama. My Rebbe, and this I'll finish. My Rebbe used to say, if you ever see a special needs child, he finished his job. A special needs child has no reason to fix his own mitzvahs, but the family that he's born to and the people who take care of him, they're not misukin yet, and they have to get their tikkun through that neshama. That's where their tikkun comes. It's not, a person is not mechuyev to do mitzvahs. He doesn't have, the Hashem isn't going to go ahead and throw a curveball at him. If that neshama needs mitzvahs, so how come he's not doing any mitzvahs? The teretz is dafes nicht hoben. He doesn't need to do any more mitzvahs. Aber, the tata, the mama, the uncle, the this, whoever the person, the aide, all the people involved, they still don't have a tikkun. And you know whose neshama is going to bring the tikkun? This heilige neshama that needs to bring a tikkun to the people around him. So he picks them up. Azayt my Rebbe's Scheiners gesagt. Berger soll helfen, we should all be zoichet zu unser tikkun. We should bring Mashiach b'mheira v'yameinu.